Three, two, one, go!
Ergonomically terrific.
Hello, welcome to the part 2 of the Amiga Electronic Eggstra podcast. Joining me this time, I have the lovely Ashley Day.
Good evening.
Hi, Ash. How are you?
I'm pretty good. We've just had a good pre-chat about the Amiga, so we've
I think
we've discussed it all now off air.
now.
But yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm sitting here in front of a big stack of Amiga games that I've pulled off the shelf to jog my memory. I've got a cheeky beer in a glass.
Nice.
The baby's in bed asleep. Couldn't be better.
Good. Mine too. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. Yeah, I had to do it to get her to sleep because
It's the
her
greatest
mum
feeling
does
in the
it.
world, isn't it, when the children are
Yeah.
asleep?
It is. My other half doesn't appreciate me singing. It's the most wonderful time of the day when I'm putting her to bed. It's like you'll give her a complex. I'm like, just toughen her up. But yeah, but if I leave my partner to do it, she can be up there for like 3 or 4 hours. If I do it, she's asleep within 10 minutes. So I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
you're the master of putting people to sleep.
yeah. I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, I'll go with it. I'll think of it as a
Soothing
compliment from her.
podcast voice.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people say sounds like a twat, but that would do. Yeah. So the Amiga, the other thing that we're on here for. But for those who don't know Ash, just to give him some credence for his retro gaming chops, he is the only other person I know other than myself to have bought a Nuon. So that should give you some views of how into retro gaming he is.
Well, until this very moment, I was the only person I knew who'd bought a Nuon. So there we go. I don't have a complete collection just yet. I'm missing 2 games.
How many were there? 6, wasn't there?
There's about 7 or 8. One of them only came out in Korea.
Oh.
So that's quite difficult to find. So I'm missing that one. That's a Crayon Shin-chan game. And then the other one I'm missing was Tetris, which was never properly released. It was given away with just one model of Nuon. So you can get it really easily. You just got to spend like £500 to £1,000 on it, which I'm not going to do.
I like Tetris, but not that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same version of Tetris that's on PS1. So like, what's the point?
That's not that good either.
No, it's not great. But I always wanted to get a Nuon because Edge magazine, whenever it was, way back when, year 2000, I think, gave Tempest 3000 a 9 out of 10. And I was always really intrigued by that, and I love Tempest 2000. So one day I just took the plunge, spent a load of money on Tempest 3000, and then like 2 years later, Songbird Productions reissued it really cheaply.
Oh no!
What can you do? Because the Nuon DVD player console itself, you can get those really cheap. I think mine cost me well under £100. But it's the games and the controllers that are really expensive.
I bought mine in whenever the year it released.
Really?
Because of Tempest 3000, yeah.
Wow.
Because I was such a big fan of Tempest 2000 and Minter games in general. And I was like, I have to play this game. And if this is the only way I'm going to be able to play it, I'm going to have to just buy this thing.
And it's still the only way.
I only had 2 games for it, which were the Merlin Racing, which came with it, bundled with it. And then I bought Tempest 3000.
Merlin Racing is kind of like the poor man's Diddy Kong Racing.
I think it's more like the poor man's Wacky Races. on on the Dreamcast. It's really
Yeah,
bad. It's so bad. I did
it's a
try
bit
and
dull.
play it, but yeah, it's so awful. But I did use it as my DVD player for a while because it was actually much better than the PS2 as a DVD player.
Yeah, did you have any of the like enhanced DVDs with the special Nuon features?
Yes, I did. I got a couple of those. I can't remember which ones they were, but I did
There's
buy them
only
because
a
I had to get
small
them all
number of
from.
them.
I had to get them all from America as well.
Yeah, they're all region 1.
Yeah,
This what is this? The Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. Ugh.
yes, that was one of
Um,
them. Yeah, it's one that I got. Yeah,
Bedazzled, I think, is one of them.
but yes, Bedazzled was, and I still have that somewhere.
Wow.
Because I've refused to ever give up a copy of Bedazzled because it's one of my absolute favorite
The
Brendan
only one
Fraser.
I've got is what the hell is it called now? This is I regret starting the sentence. The only one I've got is the one I can't remember. The Buckaroo Banzai.
Oh, I
Um, which,
never heard of that.
it's kind of a cult, kind of sci-fi time travel-y movie.
Okay, so it's
Always wanted to
exactly the
watch
sort of
it.
movie I would like.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's a lot of people love it, and I found it a bit of a slog. To be honest, it's kind of nonsensical. I don't think you're missing much.
No. Do you want to introduce yourself, actually, just in case people
That's a
don't know
good
who you are?
idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um, well, I think you did a good job. I'm Ashley Day, and I own a Nuon. What more do people need to know? Who am I? I've been living and breathing retro games for forever. Once upon a time, I was the retro editor of Games TM magazine, and then later on the deputy editor of Games TM magazine, while also doing quite a lot of freelance for Retro Gamer. So listeners of this podcast may well have read some of my work back in the day on those magazines. More recently on Time Extension, did a few bits for them. And then I work in the games industry as a day job. So I worked for Nintendo for a long time. I helped launch the Wii U, and it went spectacularly well.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a real success, that one, yeah.
yes, it's the second best console I've ever launched. I launched, stayed around just long enough to launch the Switch, so that could go at the top of my CV. And then for the past, 8 years, I've been at Team 17, which is very close to my heart and my home. I'm from Wakefield. And I grew up playing Team 17 games on the Amiga, so kind of felt like coming home in many ways to work at Team 17, and been there for a while and been involved in lots of fun projects, which I'm sure we'll probably get to talk about a couple of those. So yeah, that's who I am. I'm a guy who likes retro games.
Excellent. Cheers, Jess.
Jeff,
Ash.
Jeff Minter.
I do have him on the mind. It is ridiculous. But yeah, no, it's really great to have you on. I've been wanting to get you on for ages for something, but usually I do things so last minute that I don't do much forward planning. Whereas this time I actually did do a little bit more forward planning. But yes, which is why I don't try and reach out to too many people beyond my little circle. Because I'm like, hey guys, are you free at the moment? Okay. I'm like, thanks. Don't worry, I'll carry it. It's fine. You can just listen to me. But yes, I really wanted to get you on talk about Amiga, as I've listened to you on other podcasts, as well as I read lots of your stuff back in the day. And you also did a really good feature recently on Retro Gamer for the Simon the Sorcerer.
Yes. I got quite excited that the new Simon the Sorcerer was coming out. Am I a big fan of the series? No, I'm a big fan of the original game.
Yes, that's the
And
only
I
right
thought,
answer.
this is a good excuse to actually play through some more games in the series, go and interview some of the people involved in it. So I wrote this giant feature for Retro Gamer, 8 pages in the end. I was surprised that they allowed me to write so many pages on Simon the Sorcerer, but I think that topic's been put to bed now until they make another game. You'll never find a more comprehensive article on that series.
And I brought that up simply because I consider it an Amiga franchise, even though it was on lots of other things, I associate it mostly with the Amiga.
Yeah, well, I first played. Well, I played it on the CD32 first, which I think is a superior version of the game because it had the voice track on there with Chris Barry on it. And I remember, this is at a time when I don't think I'd heard many games with like high quality voice acting in them. Possibly none. Certainly not a point and click adventure with voice acting. So, it was still just about the time where I felt like, the Amiga was on the cutting edge and doing like new and innovative things. Of course, PC was doing the same, but who cares what PC was doing?
And they cost, a lot of money, PCs back
Yeah,
then. So it wasn't something that was easily affordable. So,
that's true.
whereas the Amiga CD32 wasn't too unaffordable.
It was very affordable back then because nobody wanted one. So
Yeah,
I think I got mine out of the like free ads, and then they were still selling the games in shops. I remember seeing them a lot in like HMV and like Future Zone and that kind of place back then. But they were just selling them off like they were on clearance shelves. So I managed to get like a really good collection of great games, like pocket money prices. I was probably only 14 or 15 years old when I was into the CD32. So I couldn't afford to be going out and buying PlayStation games every week back then,
no.
but Amiga games, yes.
Yeah, when would it have been? Would have been the Future Entertainment Expo in '94 that I went to, and I played on the Amiga CD32. And out of all the games there, I went and played the only game I've played to death, which was Super Frog.
Oh,
And I was like, well, I'm just gonna keep playing this now. And yeah, I was like, oh, I love this. I really want one now, and I never got one. It was, yeah, I think because the Saturn was on the way and the PlayStation was on the way, so it just
yeah.
just
Well,
went by the wayside.
of course there were better consoles at the time, but was there a better Amiga console? No.
No, no, I still really, really would love an Amiga CD32. Okay, but they do cost a fair
Yeah,
penny
they're
now.
pricey now. I don't know
Yeah,
what happened. They became really desirable.
yeah, because I was looking the other day, idly, when you're laying in bed and you can't sleep and you think, what can I waste money on? And yeah, I went looking and I saw the cheapest one was like 330.
No,
I was
yeah.
like, not paying that. I want one, but not that much. I'll just wait and see if that retro games company release a mini.
There's a hobbyist guy online. He's making something himself called I think it's called like the CDX32 or something like that.
Oh,
And it's kind of like a mini console, um, like 3D printed case,
yeah,
and God knows what interiors and chips in there. But you'll find him online if you search for him. He's basically recreating the CD32 in a very small form factor. So I think he'll, once he's perfected that, I imagine he's gonna like make a small number available, like handmade consoles. So that
mm,
might be a good
that
option.
might be. Yeah, that'd be great. Like, that'd be so good. I'd probably just spend my time playing Super Frog again, and because that's like one of my favorite games of the '90s for some reason. Even though I know it's not great, I
Well, I
still
mean, I'm completely
love it
biased as
so
someone who
much.
works for Team 17, but I always loved Super Frog as well. It got compared to Sonic a lot, quite favorably in a lot of magazines. But I thought it was a little bit different to Super Frog. It had like more emphasis on exploration,
Yeah,
because you couldn't finish the levels until you'd collected 100 coins.
yeah,
So you had to search all of the levels, and there were loads of like secret areas. You'd like run into walls, and then the wall would disappear and reveal these like huge secret areas. So I
yeah.
thought it was quite rewarding to play because it forced you to like explore the entire map instead of just like running from left to right and missing everything. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I
see,
always liked it.
I preferred it to Sonic games back then. which I really liked Sonic at the time. I did prefer Super Mario World as a 16-bit platformer to Super Frog, but
Yeah.
Super Frog was definitely my number 2 16-bit platformer. I played it so much. The thing is, though, I got all the way to the boss at the end of, is it the witch at the end of the second world?
Mm.
And I got all the way to her, not knowing that you had projectiles. And when I got to her, I kept dying. I was like, oh
Trying
my
to
God,
like
what is
jump on her
going
head
on?
or something.
Yeah, I kept trying to jump, and I was like, what is going on? Why can't I beat her? And then I accidentally pressed the button for the projectile. And I was like, oh my God, how have I been playing this for, what, 8 levels at this point? And not realised that there was a projectile button. Absolutely insane. This is what happens if you don't read instructions. It's why instructions are important. Or the Nintendo thing of easing you into gameplay.
Well,
With
yeah, the games are so
game
different now,
tutorial.
aren't they? Because they don't even come with instructions, but the game teaches you how to play, and some do it really well. I think Nintendo do it well, but any game that's got a tutorial, honestly, I have to resist the urge to turn it off. Can't slog
If I
through
have
them.
the option to skip, I will skip a tutorial. I think it was Superfrog that made me go, right, I'm just going to do practice doing, just mashing buttons and seeing what happens.
Yeah, that became a bit of a ritual in that age, didn't it? You'd start a new multiplayer game with someone, and you go, "Hang on a minute, let me just
Yeah.
press every button and see what it does."
Yeah. Yeah, I used to have friends who used to do that with Street Fighter. They'd be like, I need to figure out which button's which. And I'd already customized my controls to make sure that I had everything within thumb's reach without having to use the stupid shoulder buttons for Street Fighter 2.
Oh, is that on the Super Nintendo?
Yeah. Yeah, not the Amiga version. I
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Oh God,
Yeah.
well, no. But I had the Mega Drive one where all 3 buttons by default were punch.
Oh, yeah, you had to press start, didn't you,
You
to
had to
switch
press
between?
start to switch
Yeah.
them to kicks. So you'd like jump in the air, press start while you're flying through the air,
Yeah.
kick them in the head, land on the floor, press start again. It's just I don't know how I put up with it.
Yeah, you see, that put me off getting it on the Mega Drive. Well, because my dad only had the 3-button controller. Because the 6-button didn't come out for ages, did it? So
Oh, yeah, not for a long time.
yeah, it was definitely up
No
before
one could afford.
Super.
Yeah, definitely before. Yeah, so I don't think it even. I'm not sure. I don't think I don't think you could take the controller back and play it with the original Street Fighter 2 on Mega Drive. I don't think it was backwards compatible or whatever. I don't know. I'll
That
never
is
know.
so bad. How did that? That got so many good reviews as well. But you have to press start to do
Yeah, it's
stuff. That's
crazy. Imagine
ridiculous.
that today. Be slaughtered.
So bad. Yeah, so we should probably go through your history then with the Amiga. I did mine on the last episode, so I'd like to hear yours if you don't mind, Ash.
Yeah, so I came to the you might not think it for someone who kind of outwardly loves the Amiga so much and bangs on about it all the time, but I came to the Amiga pretty late in the day. I think Commodore had already gone bust by the time I got my first Amiga. I grew up with a Commodore 64 as a kid and then moved to Mega Drive from there. But I had mates at school who had Amigas, and I was always quite intrigued by them, especially as as someone who had a C64 back in the day. Like the Amiga always seemed like the next generation C64 to me, especially the A500, which had like similar kind of keyboard layout. So I played a few Amigas here and there at people's houses. Hadn't like massively fallen in love with it until I played Secret of Monkey Island at a mate's house, and I was like, "Wow, this is." I love my Mega Drive, but this game is like nothing you can get on the Mega Drive. This is a special sort of thing that needs a mouse to be played properly. It's taking advantage of floppy disks. Obviously was an amazing game. So I was really intrigued by Monkey Island, and I knew there was a Monkey Island 2, so it was kind of in the back of my mind. And then the same friend introduced me to Worms, and I was like, right, this is amazing. Like this is a game you can play over and over again. and I got so addicted to it. I was like, I can't just keep going to my mate's house to play this game. So eventually, I asked my granddad to if he would get me an Amiga. My granddad was well into computers, and he lived in the same town as me. And I spent a lot of time. I ended up moving in with my grandparents when I was a teenager, so we were really close. And my granddad bought me a second-hand Amiga 1200 from a guy who was upgrading to a PC. So he was getting rid of everything, and he had the A1200 with like 3 extra floppy drives, big stack of games, boxes and boxes of floppy disks, a printer. I didn't need the printer, but it came with a printer. It had a monitor, amazing. It came with a CRT monitor,
Cool.
and like I'm not joking, like 100 issues of Amiga magazines, like a stack of Amiga mags as tall as me. So I was really lucky to get this like instant Amiga collection. I think this would have been about, it's after Worms came out, so this must have been 1996. So I was about 14. So it's really really late in the day, but not so late that the Amiga was over. Like you could still buy Amiga magazines in the newsagents. There were probably about 5 or 6 that was still going at this point, if people can believe that. And they were still making new games for it, like not many, but you could still walk into a high street store and buy new Amiga games. There were some pretty good mail order companies who were making new games and selling them direct to consumers, and obviously there was the public domain scene as well. Like I can remember going to I used to go to Wakefield Market a lot. Every Sunday they would have a secondhand market in Wakefield, and it was a great place to get like secondhand games, including Amiga games. But there was also like a public domain stall on the market where they just have
Oh, cool.
boxes and boxes of floppy disks of for stuff you've never heard of. But they were only £1 each, so I could spend some of my paper round money, go and buy like a shareware game or something, and have something new to play that weekend. So my like early history with the Amiga. Looking back, I was thinking about this the other day. Looking back, it's probably only like a 2-year period where I was like super super into it before I got a bit frustrated with some elements of computer gaming and went to the Nintendo 64. So probably about 96 to 98, I was like really really like actively into the Amiga, and at a time when new stuff was coming out. Very short period of time, but it was a concentrated, like highly engaged period of time. I was a school kid, so I'd like tons and tons of spare time that I completely took for granted, of course. But
Yeah.
it meant that I just burnt through all these games, all this software, embedded myself in the magazines that were coming out, and the demo discs and demo CDs that they had on the covers, and just kind of
And
lived and
also the
breathed
homebrew
Amiga.
games that were being released
Yeah,
on the cover discs as well, which was just mind-blowing at the time as a kid. Just like,
yeah,
oh my god, like people, like just people in the bedrooms are making these. I didn't realize that games like that were made on the ZX Spectrum. I was too young to know that.
yeah.
But yeah, seeing them on the front of these cover discs was of the magazines was incredible.
It
I
was, it
think
was, it
my
was amazing. Go on.
I think my experience is quite like yours, but I was a couple of years earlier. So mine would have been 94 when I got mine, and 96 was when that candle burnt out for me.
Mm.
So again, it's a 2-year period, but it was like the best 2 years. I absolutely loved every minute of playing on the Amiga.
Yeah,
And everything about it. Like I loved the magazines, like you were saying. There were so many as well. There was more Amiga mags than there were Nintendo mags on the shelves. So it was just I had to have every magazine. I must have spent more on magazines a year than I did on games.
yeah, and I think looking back, I've never really thought about it until this precise moment. But I think the affordability of the software and everything else that went along with it played a key role in that, because, like I say, I'd had the Mega Drive before the Amiga,
Mm.
but cartridge games were so expensive. I probably only got like 2 games a year on the
Yeah,
Mega
same.
Drive. Christmas and birthday, and like maybe the odd second-hand game if I could find one cheap. On the Amiga, like I said, I got this like instant games collection, tons and tons of games. There was new stuff coming out that wasn't, a new Amiga game back then was probably about £10. Wasn't that expensive. Then there was the shareware stuff. There was the cover discs. So it was affordable enough that I could just work my way through like dozens of games a month, really. And I think when you engage with something on that kind of frequency, it's inevitable that you're going to become quite obsessed with it and have like a close relationship with it, because it just becomes like such a regular part of your life. Yeah, and then wasn't too long after that I got a CD32. I don't know why I wanted a CD32, but I think I just got very excited about the idea of Amiga games on CD. I saw that some of the magazines had cover CDs on them in Amiga format, and CU Amiga had cover CDs, and it just felt like the next generation of Amiga was CD. I don't think I knew or understood at the time that actually like it was already over for the Amiga and the CD32. Like I don't think I really, because the scene still felt so vibrant to me. It felt so alive. I didn't really know that its days were numbered. So I was like, yeah, CD32. Like that's the next thing. I'll get one of those. But yeah, so that kind of relationship with the Amiga like burnt really brightly for a couple of years, and then moved on. Life happened, but the Amiga was always kind of in the background, and it was always something that I returned to quite fondly. I sold my A1200 to get an N64. That would have been about 98. But a few years ago, I would say, oh gosh, what year was it? Maybe 2018, 2019. I went on a trip with work to visit a developer in Spain, and the developer was a big Amiga fan, and we were in a bar, and he was talking about the Amiga, and I was getting very excited, sharing my Amiga memories with him, and I just got on my phone, went on eBay, and I was like, right, I'm doing it, and that there and then bought, like basically rebought an Amiga 1200 with a CD-ROM drive.
Fancy.
Yeah, couldn't believe it. An accelerator card in the trapdoor, boxes and boxes of CDs and discs, and I'm so glad that I did this, because this was, in hindsight, this was just before COVID and the kind of collecting boom that came out of COVID. I got this massive Amiga high-powered A1200 with a monitor, with a CD drive, £250.
Wow.
And at the time, I was like, "Oh, do I really want to spend 250 quid on this?" There's absolutely no way I would get it for that price.
No, not
today.
now.
Absolutely
I
no
looked
way.
a few months ago because I was really wanting to get an Amiga 1200, and I looked and they were close to £500
Yeah,
just on its own.
yeah, it's gone crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't think I will ever part with it again now. It's like I felt so happy to have it. I went and bought. I'm sitting in front of it now. Actually, I went and bought a desk for it, and I was like, I want an old-fashioned computer desk like we had in the 90s. So
Yeah.
a multi-tier desk. So top shelf I can put the monitor on at head height. A lower shelf for the Amiga and the CD drive, and then I want another shelf under that slides out, where I can put a
You put the
mouse
keyboard on.
and a separate keyboard if I so wish.
Yeah.
And I searched and searched, and I was like, no one's making these kind of desks anymore. And then I eventually found one in a local music shop.
Yeah.
There's a big shop in Leeds that sold music keyboards and mixing equipment. So the desk I've got is made for musicians because it needs to house like multiple keyboards and mixing desks and all of that stuff
Oh,
all at once. So it, that I think I can't remember how much it costs, but it was more than you would pay for a normal desk. But I just had this like obsessive idea in my mind of like I need to have this giant desk, and I've still got it today. It's enormous, and it's made out of like it's made out of wood. So it's got that kind of you instantly see it and you're like, ooh, that looks like the 90s. That kind of like almost reddish brown
oh
wood.
yes, I remember those colours on desks. Yeah.
And normal people who see this are like, why have you got this prehistoric desk? And I'm like, well, because I just wanted my life to feel like the 90s again. I wanted to enjoy the Amiga the way we did back then. So yeah, I've still got all of that set up. Now I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not spending like a ton of time on my Amiga at the moment. I'm not switching it on every day, but I switch it on when I need to. I think it's just one of those things where life got in the way. So my daughter was born in 2021, and that changed everything, as I'm sure people can appreciate.
Yeah.
But the Amiga's always in my heart.
Yeah, it is for me as well. Like it's a strange one because at the time, as much as I loved it at the time, and during the during the rest of the 90s, I never really thought about it again until around about 2007, I want to say. Yeah, it would have been 2007 is when I played Super Stardust HD on the
Oh
PS3.
yeah,
And when I was playing that, and I was like, oh my God, this is like an Amiga again. I had that feeling of playing Super
yeah.
Stardust. And yeah, I was like, I love this. And then I found Team 17's Lemmings on the PS3 store as
Oh
well.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
bought that, and I was like, oh my God, it's Lemmings, but it's by Team 17. Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, so, and then I just got really nostalgic for it. And yeah, I just bought a cheap Amiga 500 because I couldn't find any 1200s on eBay at the time. So yeah, and that just got me back into it again for a few years, and then that died sadly around about 2011. So, yeah, and then I never really got back into the Amiga again. So, but I constantly think about the Amiga. I have more nostalgia for the Amiga than I do pretty much anything other than the original PlayStation. But I think because of how old I was for both of those, they were like my formative years. Because I was 15 when I got my Amiga. And then obviously PlayStation, I was 16, 17, that sort of age. And these are all sort of the years, aren't they, where we sort of become who we're going to be.
Yeah, and you've
Um,
got time. You've got endless amounts
yes.
of time, haven't you?
Yeah, so much time. It's great, but no money back then to do anything. Now it's like, oh, you've got money, but no time. Okay.
Yeah. Well, one of my fondest memories of the Amiga is on the CD32 actually. So, if anyone remembers public domain houses on the Amiga, there were several, including like 17-bit software, who
Oh yeah,
became Team
yeah, yeah,
17.
yeah.
There was a public domain group called Assassins,
Oh right.
and they, they, like any other, you could get mainly games, shareware games from them, and they did. It was incredible. I found it in a computer shop in Leeds. The Assassins collection, which were CD-ROMs stuffed full of shareware games. Like, I don't know how many, like, because the file sizes were so small, you could fit like hundreds of shareware games
Yeah, they would
on
have been
these
really small back
CDs.
then.
They did like 4 volumes of this CD collection. I think I picked up the volume 2 in the shop, and it was, I don't know, like £15 or £20 for like hundreds of games, and it's kind of, it's like potluck what you're getting, because it's tons and tons of like homebrew games essentially by people you've never heard of. But because we had the time, I remember like taking the CD32 around to my mate's house night after night, and we would just sit and go through this CD collection one game at a time, playing like every single shareware game that was on there. And that's just something like you couldn't do today. Like we've all been there with like MAME and emulators where you're like, oh, I've got access to every Super Nintendo game, but you don't have time to try them all. But when you're 15, you've got bucket loads of time. And so I've got all these like strange nostalgic memories for games that no one else has ever heard about or will talk about and not mentioned anywhere on the internet. And I think there's something quite special about that. There's something about the Amiga, and with it being an open platform, so there was all these big important commercial games, but also tiny little games made by individuals. It's like indie gaming before indie gaming was a thing. So I think it did, like, the Amiga felt more personal. It felt like you were part of a club. Shareware was amazing because like you'd play a game that you liked, and the person who made it would have their home address like in the menu of the game, and you could just write to them, and they'd write back. like, can you
I was a little
imagine
scared
that?
to write to people. I was, what if they
No,
don't want
I did it. There was, in fact, oh my god. So one of my favorite shareware games. I wish I could remember the name of it right now, but I haven't got it in front of me. If I look through this big stack of Amiga magazines in front of me, I might find it. One of my favorite shareware games on the Amiga was a quiz game. It was kind of like loosely based on catchphrase.
Okay.
And you could send a check or a postal order off to the guy who made it, and he would send you in return a bonus disc with like extra like question packs on
Oh,
it.
cool.
And I did that. And you know, it's just a fun thing, and it's kind of like getting DLC but in the post from some bloke. And I completely forgot about this game. And then a few, maybe about a year ago, I bought an old Amiga magazine at a retro convention, and I was flicking through, and I saw this game. There it was. Oh God, right. This is it. I'm gonna get it back. Thankfully, it was online. I managed to find a disc image of it
Oh, cool.
on Aminet. Do you know Aminet?
No, I've not used that.
So, by the way, if you can hear my voice kind of drifting in and out, I'm trying to go through my Amiga magazines and find this. Let's see if I'd love to actually name this game and see if other people can check it out. So Aminet existed back in the day in the 90s and was an online repository of Amiga software, particularly shareware and public domain stuff, or like patches for commercial games. And this, it ran in the 90s. You could access it on your Amiga. They also did CD collections. This is a very I don't know how I've gone to this. And they're still going today. You can still go to the Aminet website and download all of the stuff that you could get in the 90s, and new stuff as well, because the Amiga has kept going. So I found the game on Aminet, played it, and enjoyed it. And then I thought, oh, I really wish I had that extra level pack that the guy had sent me in the post. But you can't find a disc image of that online.
No.
Like that is completely lost. But I tracked him down. I found him on Facebook. And I spoke to him on Facebook Messenger. And I was like, have you got any of these discs left? Unfortunately, he didn't. But he drove to his dad's house, which I assume was the childhood home that he grew up in, where he'd made this game when he was a young man, and like went into his dad's loft looking for these discs for me, and
That's so
unfortunately he
cool.
couldn't find any. But
I didn't find them. No.
unfortunately not. But I just thought that was so cool that, like, there's something about the soul of the Amiga, that it's not just about the hardware and the software, but the people making the software and the people consuming it. were very like connected to one another. Like the Amiga felt like a community, and like still does in a very kind of real and meaningful way.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah,
yeah, but I guess the message is to you, Chris. Do get back into it. Do get an Amiga. Go down the rabbit hole again.
oh yeah.
Soon you'll
I'm
be
gonna
stalking people on Facebook like I was.
I'm gonna do the cheaper thing though and just get the A1200 when it comes out.
Yes.
You know
Oh,
that.
that looks so good.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get that. I've ordered two, so I'm gonna give one to my 13. He'll be 14 by the time it comes out. My 14-year-old son, um, because he really likes retro games, which is bizarre.
That's brilliant.
Because yeah, he'll happily sit and play 2D games for hours and absolutely love it. And yeah, so I'm thinking he would probably enjoy that because he really likes adventure games now. So I'm
Mm.
thinking, oh god, yeah, you're gonna have so many. You'll be able to get your hand on so many good point and click adventure games. So yeah, he's
Oh,
really excited about that as
have
well.
they announced the full lineup for the A1200 yet?
No, no, but on the front of the box, um, it says featuring Cineware as well. So
Ooh,
there should be some of their games on there. And it does look like Rocket Rangers on the box.
I never
And
played that
Rocket
one.
Ranger is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, that'd be good. I loved Wings back in the day. Did you play
Yes, Wings is
Wings?
fantastic. Yeah.
That's so
I
good. That
think I
felt like the future.
saw, I think I did see some, yeah, I'm pretty sure Wings was one of the games that's on the box as well. But yeah, at the moment they've only announced a few. So the ones that are announced are um, Beyond, Beneath the Steel Sky, Settlers 2, which is a new game, and can't remember the other games now.
It's amazing that
Not a
Settlers
lot.
2 is on there.
I know, it's so
It's,
cool. I
it's
can't believe they
crazy.
managed to get the license from Ubisoft for Settlers 2.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I do feel like a lot of video game companies are becoming quite relaxed now with their IPs, and that like there's really nothing to lose there.
Yeah,
Like as long as you know that the people doing something with it are going to treat it with respect, then why not? I mean, speaking from experience, um, you may be aware there was an official Project X sequel that released this year.
yes, I grabbed that on Steam. Yeah,
Um, so that was a similar sort of thing. So that's the Project X that you'll see on Steam is not developed by Team 17. It's not published by us either. But it was made by a really passionate guy who'd taught himself to program. Well, that's not strictly true. He was an HTML web developer, and he taught himself to make games. Someone who'd grown up with the Amiga, really loved and respected the IP. And when we played his demo, we were like, well, this is a really good version of Project X. We have no plans to make a Project X game anytime soon. Like the market for 2D shoot 'em ups is tiny, so
mm.
probably not something we're going to do. Do we really want to deprive fans of this game of a good quality new sequel just because we don't want to do it ourselves? Like, no, it doesn't make any sense to do that. Like this guy has proven that he can make a great game, so who does it hurt? Let's make it official and let him do it. So I suspect there are other cool people at video game companies who are also, quite easygoing when it comes to this stuff. I can't see Nintendo doing it anytime
No,
soon.
no, no, I don't think they ever would. Yeah, that's a shame. But no, that's really cool that Team 17 did that. That means there's hope for me to come up with my perfect Super Frog 2 and pitch it.
Well, one day you may notice we haven't done much with Super Frog.
I have,
In some
sadly.
time, it's not even on the Evercade collection or the A500 Mini. And Is that something I can talk about? Not really. Hopefully one day Superflog will fly again.
I hope so. I miss
I
him.
love it.
That was the thing with for me. Like you were talking about like how the community and it felt really special, and very personal. I got that feeling again when the Vita started to not when it first launched, but a sort of like a year in, and there was no real games being released for it, and then all of a sudden the indie explosion happened on the Vita.
Yeah.
And that sort of and the online community of Vita players as well. It was like a really like vocal and really supportive, and it was just it gave me those same feelings I had having an Amiga back then. And a lot of the games were actually really similar to the Amiga games as well. Obviously we did end up
Yeah.
with Super Frog and Worms
Well,
was on there, and
I was thinking about this earlier. Did you play Luftrausers
I did,
on the
yeah.
Vita? And there's an Amiga game. I've got the CD32 version up there. What's it called? I need to go and have a look. Hang on. Jet Strike. How could I forget?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I remember when Luftrausers came out, and it reminded me of Jet Strike, and I was like, this is an Amiga game. This is an Amiga game on the Vita. And then even more remarkable than that, people started like hyping up Luftrausers and recommending it as like a must-buy game. And I think similar to your experience when you played Super Stardust HD, like I was quite pleased to see like the mainstream press recommending a game that perhaps unknowingly had a little bit of like Amiga soul to it.
Yeah, I also felt that way about Velocity 2X.
Oh
Not
yeah.
the original as such, but the 2X version. I was, oh my god, this feels like an Amiga game, and the music as well sounded really Amiga-ish, which was done by the composer of the Horizon and Killzone games, weirdly enough.
Oh.
But yeah, that was another game that I was just like, oh my god, this feels like playing on the Amiga. This is great. And yeah, that to me was cemented my love for the Vita, was just due to the fact that it felt like a portable Amiga, which I was absolutely obsessed with. I still am actually. I still play on my Vita more than I do any other system, to be fair, which is weird. But
So
there were so
I've
many
remembered
games
the
to get
name
through.
of the shareware quiz game that I was obsessed with on the Amiga. I've remembered because I've looked at my messages with the creator on Facebook. So it was a game called Pickit, PIC-IT,
Okay.
because it had that that kind of catchphrase thing where there'd be like a 3x3 grid, and it would gradually, as you got questions correct, it would remove one of the tiles from the grid to gradually reveal the picture. And then
Oh,
you'd have to
cool.
guess what the picture was. Some of them were famous faces, and then I think the others were slightly more generic things. So it might not mean a lot to a lot of people, but I wanted to give a shout out to that game, Pickit. If you're into your Amiga shareware games, get that off Aminet. And that was by a guy called Rob Massey, who, looking back at my messages, I think he was quite surprised to hear someone like track him down and talk. Like looking at it, he could barely remember the name of the game himself. So he hadn't gone on to become a game developer or something. It was just like something he'd done as a hobby and forgotten about. Just quite imagine making a game and then just
Out of the
it
blue.
becomes part of your past.
Yeah, but then someone just out of the blue messages you about it as well, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's weird. I
Yeah.
didn't even think about that game.
Yeah, but I've been thinking about it for decades.
Oh,
What
that's
was
so
that
cool.
game?
But yeah, so would you say that the Amiga was quite influential on your life, just beyond a way of playing games?
Yeah, I think it was. You know, a, a big important part of the Amiga for me was the connection to Team 17 and to the local area that I grew up in. So it wasn't too long before I started to notice that a lot of my favorite games were not just made by the same company, but they all mentioned Wakefield, the city that I'm from, in the manuals and on the boxes. And for the briefest of moments, I was like, "Oh, that's nice! Like they print the manuals in Wakefield. So that's cute, isn't it?" Because I just couldn't imagine that this like industrial northern city that I came from would be somewhere that like amazing video games would be made. And when it came to Worms, video games that were known all over the world. But eventually I pieced that together, and that was quite inspirational to me to come from this working class environment and find out, oh, I could do this too. I could go work in the games industry. That was really powerful stuff. So obviously I would end up working for Team 17 decades after that, but even early on in the 90s, it kind of set me on this path that this could be something I could do. So definitely important in that regard, and I think important to me in my like early journalistic career, because I had Team 17 on the doorstep. I think one of the first articles, certainly the first article I wrote for Games TM was a freelance piece about Alien Breed, which is one of my favorite games ever.
It's incredible.
There was no interview material in that, but that was Darren Jones, who was retro editor at the time on Games TM. He was going on holiday and he needed someone to like cover for him, so I wrote an article about Alien Breed, which kind of got me my foot in the door as one of the first bits of kind of paid magazine writing that I did. And then when I started writing for Retro Gamer and they wanted more kind of interview-driven content, it was relatively easy for me to interview Team 17 people here locally. I remember going, there's a guy called Marcus Dyson who was a producer at Team 17 in the 90s, and also editor of Amiga Format before that.
Must be where I've seen his name. So I
Yeah,
was like, I
probably.
recognise that name.
He was on Amiga Format for years. He might have been
Yeah,
its
it must have been
longest
from
serving
that.
editor. And he's a Wakefield lad like myself. So he owned a company in Wakefield called he owned two companies. One was called 11th, which was the company that made all of the like press asset websites for different game developers and publishers. In fact, when I went and worked at Nintendo, I found out that 11th made the press website for Nintendo. So there was like
cool.
this strange Wakefield connection to Nintendo.
Yeah.
And he also owns Spong, which you might know of as a gaming website that was fairly popular in the 2000s and is still around today.
Yeah.
And their office was just up the road from my house, and I went there, and he very kindly gave me an interview about the Team 17 days. And again, that kind of it got my foot in the door with Retro Gamer, got me some credibility. And I'm not sure, if I'd have been trying to get interviews outside of that, I think I probably would have done it. Like the internet was coming up, and it was, people were accessible. It probably still would have happened, but it was nice that I had these connections that I could draw upon, and there was clearly something. I ended up writing about the Amiga and Amiga games quite a lot back in those days. So even though I'd moved on from the system, and I had a CD32 in the closet but it wasn't getting used, it was still clearly like in the back of my mind. It clearly left an impression and was something I wanted to like get out of my system. Like I needed to tell other people about it and write about it. And I don't think that's really changed, to be honest. And even you said at the beginning of this episode that I'd written the Simon the Sorcerer piece for Retro Gamer. That was only a couple of months ago. There's just something about the Amiga that's followed me through. And then think more recently working at Team 17. Team 17 is a dangerous place to work if you're someone like me who loves the Amiga so much, because they must be so sick of me like banging on about, let's bring back Alien Breed. Like probably like every 6 months I'll be like, I've got an idea. Why don't we bring back Alien Breed? And they'll be like, yeah, you
But
had that
not
idea
as an
last year,
extraction
Ash.
shooter.
No. Well, no.
No.
But maybe, but no. I actually think that Alien Breed could be adaptable into lots of different subgenres. I think you can make a great tactics game with Alien Breed. I think you could make a great roguelike.
A
Also,
roguelike in the vein of something like Returnal, right? Where
Returnal or like Hades with guns.
that would
As
work
long
too.
as you're in corridors shooting aliens, scrambling around for keys, and it's got 2-player co-op. I think Alien Breed can draw influence from a lot of like modern indie games and modernize itself. But nothing going on at the moment. But I'm always trying, and I'm always in the archives as well, like digging out old Amiga stuff at work, which has had some like real tangible benefits. Actually, it's not just for my nostalgia. Looking through the cupboards and finding things. I found the Alien Breed source code in a cupboard. As a company, they genuinely thought that source code was lost forever, and I found it, and I
So cool.
backed it up, and it's now archived on our servers. So who knows if we'll use that one day, but now we can. If we decide to, we can do that. I also found in a cupboard the Total Wormage demo. This is the version of Worms that existed before Andy Davidson signed it with Team 17. And it's the demo disc that he took to ECTS and got Martin Brown to sign. And I found these 2 floppy disks in a cupboard in the disabled toilets, and they just and it's the our IT department. We just using the cupboard for storage. So there's just loads of boxes in there, and there was a box with an Amiga 4000 in it, and inside that box were some floppy disks. And there's 2 floppy disks with handwritten labels on that both said "The Worms." I was thinking, oh, I wonder what this is. Maybe it's some like press assets or something that they would have sent to, screenshots that they sent to Amiga magazines or something, which would have been cool. But no, it was the actual like 1994 Total Wormage demo, like the original thing, which
that is so awesome.
Again, like I'm sure Andy's probably got one on his Amiga, but it was pretty much lost to time. Like it's never been released. There's been no screenshots online. The only video online is a clip on Bad Influence where Andy was showing it on Bad Influence to Andy Crane. So then we had it, and again I got that backed up, got it running in an emulator, so like we have that now as an historical asset, and we made use of it a couple of years ago when we did Worms Armageddon Anniversary Edition with Digital Eclipse. That was an amazing experience,
collection.
actually. Oh, thank you. That was, we should talk about this. It's really cool. We had this idea, or rather, I'm going to take the credit. I had this idea. I pitched to our CEO at the time. I was like, "Look, Worms Armageddon, which is not an Amiga game, but we'll get to that. Worms Armageddon it's the fan favorite version of Worms. It's the one that's known all over the world, and it's like trapped on PC. You can get it on Steam, but it's not really available anywhere else. Why don't we port it to console? We've still got the source code. Let's do a console version. It's been a while since the last Worms game. It will be a while before there's another Worms game. This is a good opportunity to remind people why they love Worms. We'll put it on Switch, put it on PlayStation, put it on Xbox. Let's just get Worms Armageddon out there." And he was, so kind of to my surprise, he was like, "Yeah, do that." And then he challenged me and the head of studio, who was a guy called Roger Carpenter, to go and find a developer who could do this. And I think we were supposed to come back with like a bunch of options of like, here's 3 studios, here's the cost they can do it for, all that kind of thing. But Roger and I were both massive fans of Digital Eclipse and what they'd been doing with the Gold Master series, like the Llamasoft collection, which you and I were talking about earlier. And we were like, oh, we've got to go to Digital Eclipse. So we spoke to Mike Miker at Digital Eclipse, and he was brilliant actually, and he said
I love him.
he's so good, and a big Alien Breed fan actually.
Is he?
Yeah, when we
Doesn't
got on the
surprise
call,
me actually.
yeah, he knows his stuff. So yeah, when we spoke to him, he was like, "Oh, can we talk about Alien Breed? Maybe some other time. We want to talk about Worms." And he was amazing. He said something that really meant a lot to me. He said, "Look, we're not like some regular porting house that just does console conversions. Like, if you want a company that does that, there's thousands of them out there. What we do is, we do the bonus content, the extra material that adds context to the history. So we'll only take on this project if we can tell the Worms story at the same time and include a virtual museum on the disc, new interviews, documentary stuff." And we were like, well, yeah, okay. Like, we'll figure it out. This is going to put the budget up a little bit, but like we want to do this, and thankfully Team 17 was really supportive of the market to them.
I'm glad, because it's such a good collection.
Yeah,
so good.
you and me both. I think the story of Worms and the story of Andy Davidson is kind of an amazing story for anyone who knows it. So I was pleased that Digital Eclipse had that passion for it. I don't think they would have done the project just for the money. I think they had a real passion for the story, and I had a passion for it too. And that's where the years and years I'd spent kind of digging around in the archives at Team 17 really paid off, because it meant that there was loads of cool stuff I'd found that we could put into the museum. One of which was like the first ever like high quality direct capture footage of Total Wormage. We were able to show people what Worms looked like before Team 17 picked it up and made it into the game that everyone knows today. So it's like a real important slice of video game history there. I really wish we could have made it playable, but unfortunately it was outside of the scope of the project to get Amiga emulation in there. But we got that video footage in there. We got tons of stuff that had never been seen before, brand new interviews with Andy Davidson, which was amazing. He was a really good sport on that. He gave up a lot of his time. Digital Eclipse worked quite hard, even like post-release, to put additional games in there. So it was, as it was conceived, it was only ever meant to be Worms Armageddon. Take the PC game, put it on console. But as you know, like Digital Eclipse like to have like bonus games that you can play. So they were the ones who said, let's put the Game Boy Color version on there as a bonus. Even though
I couldn't believe that was on there.
It's obviously not the best version of Worms, but it's really interesting and unique and kind of fascinating to see how the programmers of the day managed to translate this ambitious game right down onto Game Boy Color. It's a bit of a technical marvel that they're able to do that. So, I was really pleased that Digital Eclipse like came to the table with their own ideas and pushed for that to happen. And then post-release, they continued to work with us. So we put on the Super Nintendo version of Worms, the Mega Drive version, and the Game Boy Advance version of Worms World Party as well. So we got some extra value on there. Which was all free. It's not paid DLC. It was just like a free update that we did for the game. So really, really proud of that project. And I guess to bring it all the way back to your original question, which is probably like 20 minutes ago, yes, I think when you look at something like that, and I feel very lucky that Team 17 basically allowed me to do that. Like having a vision for a game release and working with the developer to make it something special is not my job at all. My day job at Team 17 is more on the kind of business development side, really. But they were totally supportive of me doing something a bit more creative, and it was it was a chance for me to in a very privileged position, pay homage to the Amiga, pay tribute to it. So yeah, very much the Amiga is still very much like a part of my life in a meaningful way that I'd like never could have imagined back in the 90s. And I will continue to find ways to champion it whenever I can. Only like 2 weeks ago, I was working with Wakefield Museum. Obviously, it's a local museum up here. I don't think many people will be making a special trip to go to Wakefield Museum, but they should.
There'll be pilgrimages now. Yeah.
But there's I can't call it an exhibit or an exhibition. They've told me not to call it that. It's a display, is what they've told me. They don't want people to get too excited. But we've got a permanent display in Wakefield Museum at the moment, which is free to see. It's in the entrance of the museum, and you can see a load of stuff that we donated from Team 17, including
Oh, cool.
the Worms and Alien Breed discs that I mentioned earlier. Our last remaining Amiga 4000 is on display there. Loads of little historical treats. A 1995 Worms mousepad that I found in the loft, complete with like faded yellowing color to it, just so you know it's an original. And then next to that, they've got an A500 Mini with Worms the Director's Cut running on it, so people can actually like play the game and get to know it properly. So that was a really fun project to do that Wakefield Museum suggested, and then I kind of ran with it, really. And it's my dream would be if a young, a bit like the way I was inspired by Team 17 and the Amiga, if like a young lad or lass in Wakefield sees that display and reads about Andy Davidson's story, making a game on his own on his Amiga when he was 17, and then it becoming a worldwide success. If a couple of kids can learn about that and figure out that, yeah, they could get a PC or a Raspberry Pi or something and make a game themselves, then I'd be delighted. And like that to me that's the real legacy of the Amiga. Like, we've all got our favorite games that we like to go back to, but I think the important legacy of the Amiga is that it empowered ordinary people to make content themselves. Like the guy I was talking to who'd made a shareware game and completely forgotten. He'd completely forgotten, and it was a part of his past, but he did it, and it was part of his life, and it really made him happy to have someone come back and say, "Hey, I remember this thing that you made." For a long time, video game systems were not like that. Like for a long time, we were dominated by really powerful and fun consoles, but they were closed systems that didn't allow, like, they were one way. So you bought a console, you engaged with the content that was being delivered to you, but you couldn't reverse it and go the other way. You couldn't create content on that system and have other people enjoy it. I think we're kind of back to that now, even though the Amiga is a thing of the past or a hobbyist device now. Like the spirit that it embodied, I think, is very much alive and well in things like the Unity engine or GB Studio. Like, you can, I'm pretty sure I could make a Game Boy game now with GB Studio, and it wouldn't be too difficult to figure that out. Like, that's it's amazing that these kind of things are possible now, and I feel a lot of the Amiga spirit in that. Maybe it's because I look at everything through an Amiga lens. I don't know.
Well, I do too. That's the thing, because for me, so I really was into music growing up, and I did music at GCSEs, and I used my Amiga to do different samplings and things like that with music, which was amazing. I never did anything with music, but I did get into game development in once I finished doing my degree, and yeah, and I ended up with my thing was I ended up working for Sony Cambridge or Cambridge Studio, which were originally the James Pond developers who before they were
Didn't
purchased by
realize that.
Sony. Yeah, so that to me was really cool. Like because when I first found out that I knew that they'd been bought by Sony and they were this new studio when I first played Medieval on the PlayStation back in the day, but I didn't know they were in Cambridge, where I was from. So for me, I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then my first job was at Sony Cambridge finishing up Medieval Resurrection, which was cool on the PSP. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's like, I felt like I was working with a company who had this legacy going back as well, with the Amiga, as I was a massive fan of Robocod in particular, not the other two James Bond games. And yeah, that was really cool. But then my big one was when I worked at Frontier Developments, and I was working there for a while. I was working on The Outsider before that was cancelled.
Interesting.
But I did get pulled. I was going to say I did get pulled off there, but that would sound weird. But I did get pulled off of that project for a little bit to work on Elite Dangerous before it was Elite Dangerous, and it was only, I think it was known as Elite 4 or 5, I can't remember, but whatever number of Elite it was, is what it was called at the time. And I remember working on that for a bit, and then it was put back onto the back burner, and then on The Outsider again. But one of my favourite games I missed out last time was Frontier Elite 2 on the Amiga. And I absolutely, because I liked the first one I played on the Spectrum, but it wasn't anything near as good as Frontier Elite 2. And I think my love of Elite 2 Frontier was the game that really got me the job there, because in the interview I just kept going on about just like how that changed my life. I was like, this game, and then I even dropped Dark Side in from the 32X as well, just as a little cherry to sort of show how much of a fan I am of their games.
That's a deep cut as well.
I know. I was like, yeah, and I was like, I'm probably the only person who bought Dark Side. And I did have a copy, so I was able to show them that I had a copy of it, so that they didn't think I was lying.
Worth a fair bit of money now, that one.
It is now, yeah. But I shan't be parting with that, as I think that did me got me the job really. So we should probably talk about some games before we get out of here. I went through my ones last time, but I did miss off. Obviously, I'd spoken about Elite 2, but I also really loved Lamatron 2112 from obviously Lamasoft. Fantastic little shooter with amazing music, obviously. And as we were talking about before we recorded this, I just found that it's on the Evercade Lamasoft collection that came out last week. So I will definitely be playing that before bed tonight.
I think I will order that before bed.
You absolutely should. It's a really great collection, actually. And the other game I really liked was Pirates, or as it's now known, Sid Meier's Pirates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that for me was, I couldn't believe how in depth that was. It's like with the mix of the action and the strategy as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the open world game of its day.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I think that sort of scratched the same itch as Frontier. It was this different kind of open world, but it was still those same sort of thematics through. But just one's in space, one's on the sea. But yeah, that was those two games I just wanted to mention. But I will now pass over to you, Ash.
Well, I mean, Team 17 games were, I don't just say this because I work there, but I gravitated towards the Team 17 stuff all the time. So all of the Alien Breed games, particularly Alien Breed Tower Assault, which was kind of like a non-linear version of the game, so you could play it over and over again and go in completely different directions and see something that you'd potentially never seen before. That was an amazing version. Worms, of course, Project X, Body Blows, which was certainly better than the Amiga version of Street Fighter. I loved the oh yes, I loved the LucasArts point and click adventures. In fact, I just love point and click adventures as a whole. That was, I think they were like the killer app of the Amiga. Like it was something that didn't really happen on the other systems. There'd been a couple on the C64, but they were nowhere near as beautiful or impressive as the Amiga ones, and they just didn't exist on the consoles. So Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2.
On the last one as well about like when I first played Indiana Jones: Fate of Atlantis. That was when I was like, oh my god, games are so much more different than I thought.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they weren't just like shooting or jumping or sports. Like I think point and click adventures kind of wouldn't naturally quite cinematic storytelling games, but still highly like interactive.
Yeah.
So I really loved those. Monkey Island 2 in particular is just I just couldn't believe what I was seeing on my screen. Simon the Sorcerer, another great point and click.
To quickly go into something, you and I were talking on Blue Sky about Return of Monkey Island.
Yes.
And I went back and played 2 recently after completing Return. And it actually made me well up even more after playing 2 and then remembering what I'd just done. Sorry, I just wanted to mention that. So.
Yeah, well, Return to Monkey Island is amazing. Not everyone thinks so, but they're wrong.
They are.
And it really I think it really respects those original games, which shouldn't be a surprise because it's made by the same person. A point and click adventure on the Amiga that no one ever talks about. I'm holding it in my hand right now. I bought this back in the day, brand new. Is Star Trek 25th Anniversary.
I was just about to ask you, have you played that game?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is amazing. It only runs from a hard drive. You need to have a hard drive in your A1200 and install it. There's a PC version as well, so I think it was quite ambitious for its day. But what I really love about Star Trek 25th Anniversary, it's original series characters Spock and Kirk, and it's an episodic game. Like years before, we had episodic games, not released separately. It's all on the same set of discs in the box, but it's like 4 or 5 chapters to the game. Each one kind of structured like a typical Star Trek episode that you maybe can play for like an hour before you move on to the next episode. Beginning, middle, and end, all of the highs and lows of the story, but puzzles and challenges that feel very like fitting to Star Trek. And you had it would even have like the theme music at the beginning of each episode, a bit where you're on the ship interacting with the crew and talking to alien races through the view screen, beaming down to the planet. You could use phasers, set them to stun, all of that stuff. And it had like really authentic sound effects as well. So, and I think sound is so important when you're playing a licensed game, because it needs to feel and look, feel, and sound like the thing you're familiar with. And I'm a massive Star Trek fan. So that's a really special. I'm looking at it now and going, I need to play it again.
Story as well that runs through.
Yes, even though it's episodic, it's got like threads running through it.
It's so good, so clever. I only played this around a friend's house who had the Amiga 1200. That's why it wasn't one of my favorites, because it was one that I only played with him. So it wasn't something that I actually got to just sit and enjoy on my own. But yeah, just playing that I couldn't believe how good the storytelling was. in terms of it being structured, like you were saying, in episodic ways like that. And then seeing the threads go through as well, it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And using like the original cast, well, the original characters even. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And I'm a massive Star Trek nerd, so it was one of those ones I absolutely loved.
Nice. I don't think there are that many great Star Trek games, but I would say 25th Anniversary, definitely one of them. Really love that. And then on CD32, I've got a number of fond memories. I pulled a few off the shelf. Simon the Sorcerer, we talked about. The CD version was the best with the Chris Barry voice acting, beautiful visuals as well. So I really loved that. Did you ever play Liberation?
No, I haven't played that.
There was a game on the Amiga called Captive, which I've never played, and Liberation was a sequel to it. So Liberation was a first-person perspective sci-fi RPG, very kind of cyberpunk, basically the cyberpunk of its day is Liberation. Totally baffling to me at like 15 years old. I didn't really know. I felt quite directionless playing it. I don't think I ever got very far, because it was like a fully like open world first person RPG on the Amiga, and on the CD you had amazing music and speech in there, and you could like go anywhere, do anything, but I never really knew what I was supposed to be doing. But it didn't matter to me because it's one of the first examples of an open world game I can remember with that kind of freedom to go in any direction. So that in and of itself was like really captured my imagination. Guardian. Did you ever play Guardian?
No, I haven't played that one either.
Guardian is by Acid Software, and I've got the CD version. I assume there was a floppy version, but I'm not sure. And if you can imagine a 3D version of Defender, essentially. And you can see the similarity in the names there: Defender, Guardian. I kind of fooled myself into thinking this was like the Amiga's answer to Star Fox at the time. It's got the similar, in like Star Fox 64, where you'd get to the end of a stage and it would, it's on rails, but then it would open up and it'd go into like free roam mode, and you could fly around in these like dogfight battles.
I'm just looking this up. Wow, it looks really cool.
That's what Guardian did on the Amiga, and it was like full 3D polygonal spaceship fighting.
So cool.
Really arcadey, and what year did it come out? It must have been about 94. Just way ahead of its time, and really like pushed the Amiga. So I thought that was amazing. And another kind of under the radar one is Degeneration. You know this game?
I've not heard of that one either.
So you can actually get this on the Switch.
Can you?
Well, there's two versions of it on the Switch. They did a remake, which is not very good. People complained, and then they just released the original version, but emulated, so you can get it for like under a tenner on the Switch. And it's an isometric adventure. Kind of in the way like you got isometric adventures on the Spectrum, but with a teeny tiny kind of like stickman character exploring. Can I remember exactly what you're doing? It's kind of like an isometric Die Hard, in that you're trying to escape this like corporation tower. So you're going up, trying to get to the top floor of this tower. So every floor is a different level, and there's loads of traps. There's like laser traps, doors that automatically open and close and have switches on them, that are designed to trap you, electrified floors, and you're this like tiny little stick man with a little laser gun, and when you shoot the laser it can like bounce off walls. So there's like puzzle elements where you have to like aim your laser so that it ricochets off the walls and hits a switch, so it deactivates an electric panel and lets you walk down the corridor. All this kind of stuff, but also like filled with like death traps that instantly kill you. So it can be there's quite a risky game to play. I don't know if I'm doing a great job of describing it, but
No, you are. It sounds really. I'm looking it up as well, and I'm. Oh well, this looks really
it's
bloody good.
a lot of games from that era, particularly like Western-made computer games, kind of lacked a bit of polish, or didn't have the right level of game design to like naturally communicate their ideas to the player. But Degeneration was really well designed. Like when you play it, you grasp it pretty much instantly. It's still got loads of challenge, but the challenge feels whatever the opposite of insurmountable is, surmountable. It feels like you could complete this game, and a lot of games back then didn't feel that way at all because they were really unbalanced. So that's a great one. And if you love old games or you love the Amiga, like I do recommend picking up the Switch version. I think it might be on Steam as well. It's a really good game.
Do you recommend the original or the remake?
Not the remake. Definitely not the remake.
Cool.
Yeah. I think the release might actually be called Degeneration, the original. It might be that kind of does what it says on the tin. But people will know it when they see it. It looks like an Amiga game.
Yeah, it's weird. There are 3 versions on the Switch by the look of it.
3 versions.
So there's Degeneration the original, Degeneration HD, and then Degeneration.
That's strange.
Yeah. 2 of them are $14.99 and one is $9.99. Oh no, that's the Xbox One version. It's $9.99. Sorry.
Yeah, I think you want Degeneration, the original.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the remake on Steam now, and it has mostly negative reviews. So yeah, don't get the remake. It's unnecessary. They got it wrong. I can't tell you what they got wrong. It's been so long since I've played the remake, but they redid all the graphics and made them worse, in my opinion. And I think it just lacked a lot of the original charm. But the original one is great. There will of course be dozens of amazing games that I'm forgetting. But the other thing I wanted to mention, it's less a game and more a studio. I wanted to give a shout out to Vulcan Software. Do you know
Yes.
or remember Vulcan Software?
I do, yeah.
These guys are really special to me.
Yeah.
Especially as someone who was into the Amiga in its like final years. Because Vulcan Software, I don't think they made their first Amiga game until like, I don't know, 94, 95. Like
Yeah, they were very late, weren't
quite
they?
late. And they were direct to consumer for the most part. I think a couple of their games came out in shops.
Yeah, because I remember
mostly they were
seeing
mail
these.
order.
Yeah, I was going to say I saw on the mail order adverts. So I remember getting. Oh my god, what was it? It's like a pilot one.
Jet Pilot, I think it's called.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, that was one I really liked, and there was Timekeepers as well. I think
Timekeepers was great. So to give a brief rundown of Vulcan Software, they kind of became well known because of a series they did called Valhalla, which was a series of top-down point-and-click adventures. I'm not sure why top-down. It's a really strange choice, but it kind of worked. Very, very heavy puzzle emphasis, but they were well known because they managed to get full speech in their games on floppy disk rather than CD. So it was all like digitized speech, like using the Amiga's sound chips to create the speech, from what I understand, but a bit of a technical marvel quite late on. So the Valhalla series was pretty popular, and then they followed that up when they went mail order only. They had a series of games called the Mini series, and these were almost like indie games on the Amiga, and they came packaged in boxes so small and compact. There was just enough room for the floppy disks and a tiny
Yeah.
manual. The idea being that they could fit through your letterbox really easily. So you'd send off a check or a postal order for a few pounds. I don't think they would have cost more than, certainly no more than like £15. They were pretty cheap. And then you get a game in the post, and they did maybe about 10 or 12 of these mini series games right up till about 1997, I would say. And then they followed that up. They went from the mini series to the mega series, and the mega series was CD-ROM games, and they did about 5 of these, and these were naturally a bit more ambitious, higher quality graphics. They tended to be AGA only, so they'd only work on the Amiga 1200 or the 4000. And I said earlier that playing on the Amiga kind of felt like you were in a club. Vulcan Software games to me kind of felt like I was in a club as well, like this little like boutique developer that were only on the Amiga. They didn't make games for other platforms, and were making these like kind of like hidden gems that when everyone else was fleeing the Amiga, everyone else was abandoning ship. Team 17 released their last Amiga game in '97, but Vulcan Software kept going. It's probably only like another year, but they if you're an Amiga fan in those dying days, they were one of the heroes. So I'll call out a couple of games.
Go for it. Yeah,
that they did, maybe more than a couple. Timekeepers, I think you mentioned, was like a top-down, like time travel puzzle game. I haven't played it since the 90s, so I can't remember.
I haven't
great
played
detail.
it since then either, but I do remember really enjoying
loving it.
Yeah.
Tons and tons of levels, kind of like logic puzzles.
Yeah.
With these little characters that look almost like lemmings, like they would have got sued by DNA Design.
The thing is, my partner was asking me this game actually came up because we were talking about we were watching the 1% Club. Is it 1% Club or something? It's on ITV. I don't really watch. My partner watched it, and I sat down and watched it with her. And I remember saying, "Oh, these are just logic puzzles, right?" In this TV show. And she was like, "Oh yeah." And I was getting them all right, and she was like, "How come?" And I was like, "I used to play a lot of a game called Timekeepers, which was just like logic puzzles." And so it did come up in natural conversation like a week ago.
Yeah, they're like spatial awareness puzzles.
Yeah.
They like if you don't do everything in quite the right sequence, then you have to start it all over again. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
Amazing that your life skills come from Timekeepers. That's quite obscure.
It's one of those games that was like, wow, it must have been 95, 96 when I got it.
Yeah.
And I just remember like because I really like the art in on the page in the magazine, and I was thinking, oh man, this looks really cool. And I sent off for it and I got it, and I remember thinking, when I first saw the actual graphics in game, I was like, oh, this looks quite drab. But then just being like absolutely consumed, and then just trying to figure out the logical way to get through each puzzle. And as soon as they click, you're like, I am a freaking genius. And then you get to the next one, you're sitting there for about 3 or 4 hours, and I can't figure this out. And then it just dawns on you. And I do remember one evening after like putting it away because I was just like, I can't do this. I can't figure this one out. And then waking up and going, oh my God, I know how to get through that now. And going and putting on the Amiga and actually getting through and playing and just trying to fit, and it worked. It was just because my brain needed some separation time from the game to be able to understand.
I'm looking at it now, and it's kind of coming back to me a little bit. You could place like arrows on the floor, and then the little lemmingsy looking dudes would like walk over the arrows and follow the path that you directed them. So it's kind of like Choo Choo Rocket a few years before I've ever
Yeah,
played the puzzle mode in Choo Choo Rocket.
yeah.
And then two other games from the miniseries that I really liked. One was called Tiny Troops, and this was an RTS, a very cutesy RTS that I think is kind of like the Amiga's version of Pikmin in a way.
Okay, I'm listening.
Really tiny little alien soldiers who are so small they like exist, among the plants and flowers in somebody's garden. But had that kind of like the RTS actually like began life on the Amiga, right, with Dune 2.
Yeah,
And Tiny Troops borrowed a lot of those mechanics, but like simplified them and made it a bit more accessible, a bit more cartoony,
I'm just
smaller kind
looking
of
this up
bite-sized
now
levels.
that you've mentioned it, and it really does look very Pikmin-y.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm sure Shigeru Miyamoto has no idea that Tiny Troops exists, but it's
I don't think.
uncanny.
I think he was in England and he bought a copy of Amiga format before he got
Definitely.
on a flight back to Japan, and then ordered it via mail order. And was like, "This is great." Then forgot about it for a few years, and then was in his garden, and he was like, "What was that game I played?" And
uh,
how
so
Pikmin came. He's like, "I could definitely make a game like that."
yes, well, if you're gonna steal from the best, uh,
I
it's
can't
what I
believe
say.
how good this looks, actually.
It's great. It's really good. And another one I would mention is a game called Hilsea Lido, which is billed as a seaside simulator. So this, kind of
Hence
business
Lido.
sims were all, yeah. Lido is in like an outdoor swimming pool.
Yeah.
Um, business sims were kind of a big thing on Amiga, like Theme Park, for example. But this was like a really like British interpretation of it, where you ran a British seaside, and you had to like charge for the deck chairs and all of that stuff. Really simple. It's got this like profile view where you're looking at these like fat white people on a beach, and you would like the main mechanic was that you would try and attract lots of people to the beach with the deck chairs and with like ice cream vans and things. And if you attracted lots of people, you could then sell them tickets to an end of the pier show at the end of the week. And the more tickets you sold, the more you can afford to book like a higher quality act for the end of the pier. And then at the end of the week, you get to watch whatever that show was in like glorious
Punch and Judy
Amiga
on that.
vision. It was more kind of like maybe like Cirque du Soleil stuff or Chuckle Brothers or something, like just like very strange, but like
It sounds really
very
cool, though.
British. Yeah, it's a fun little oddity, and I like to think like the sort of thing that would only appear on the Amiga, where like a small. I think there is a real place called Hilsea which has a Lido, and I think Vulcan Software were based around the corner from there, so they've obviously taken inspiration from the local area, and like just not the sort of thing that would have been happening on like the Super Nintendo at the same time, because the economies of scale are completely different.
Did you know that Vulcan Software's website is still up and active?
Yes, I'm looking at it right now. It's
Yeah,
incredible
I just
that
had
it's
to
still there.
do. That's where I found Hilsea Lido. Yeah, that's
Yes,
it's so cool.
uh, amazing. It was run by a guy called Paul Carrington, who I do speak to now and then. I've been trying to interview him. I've got an agreement with Amiga Addict magazine that if I can get an interview with Paul, we'll do a big feature on Vulcan Software. But Paul has recently had 2 children and is very busy being a father, so struggling to get some time with him. I think he's must be a really interesting person to have made all of these games happen at the tail end of the Amiga. I just do not understand how he did it. The last game I will mention from Vulcan Software is a game called Genetic Species,
Okay, we'll
which I
have to look that one up
think
as well.
came out. Well, I don't have to guess. I've got a copy right here in front of me. It would have been 97 or 98. I think it's 98. So really, really late.
Wow,
And
that
this
is really late.
and you'll see if you're looking at it. Oh, in fact, the CD is not in the case. It must be in my Amiga.
It's a first-person shooter.
It is a first-person shooter, a really beautiful looking first-person shooter. There were first-person shooters on the Amiga, and a lot of them were using like bitmap sprites, but this one is using textured polygons, and it looks like it could have been on PlayStation 1, if not
Yeah, I'm looking at it
Dreamcast.
now. It looks amazing.
It's an incredible technical achievement by an external studio to Vulcan. So Vulcan published it, and another studio made it. That studio, as far as I can tell, only ever made this one game and nothing else. And it has a rather innovative like possession mechanic. So it's almost like if Paradroid was a first-person shooter. So you have to keep there's quite a puzzle element to it, and a leveling up element. You have to keep possessing more powerful creatures or robots in order to like get further in the game or like overcome an obstacle. But every time you possess another being in the game, you of course then inhabit that being in first person, and it completely changes what your powers are, what your weapons are.
This sounds like another Nintendo game, Geist.
Oh,
Yeah.
Geist, yeah, on the
Yeah,
GameCube.
Nintendo literally robbing a living from Vulcan Software.
Definitely, it's indisputable. So I keep meaning to write an article on this one, but I want to finish it first, and it's a really hard game.
It looks really good, though. I can't believe that's on the Amiga.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, it came out so late that no one really knows about it. To be honest, so I'd love to know more. That's why I'm so keen to talk to Paul Carrington, because I want to like how did they even fund a game this ambitious on the Amiga in 1998? It must have been like a pure passion project.
Yeah.
And like it must have sold nothing. And why did they never because it's a good game? Why did they never like convert it to the PC? Like they could have made millions. We'll never know unless Paul decides to speak to me properly. So yeah,
I'm smelling here a Team 17 Vulcan Software collection.
Oh, yeah, one day.
Developed by
Digital
Eclipse.
Oh yes, let's do the documentary of the Vulcan story, and an Evercade cartridge to go with it.
That'll be amazing.
Europa 2 is another one you should look at. Actually, that's half isometric adventure. You're kind of like a robot going around a space station, trying to solve puzzles and get one from one room to another in that kind of like head over heels style. But then when you leave the space station, it turns into like a full 3D free roaming like open world where you're like piloting a spaceship around an alien landscape. Like a really weird mix of like very, very old school, almost like ZX Spectrum level design and modern 3D tech. And again, like must have sold about 10 copies. Like, it boggles the mind.
That is insane. It sounds so good. I've just looked at that as well, and that looks really fun. I can see why Nintendo and Miyamoto rip off these guys.
Yes. So I think how can I encapsulate all of this? I think getting into the Amiga as I did in that period, like 1996 to 1998, has given me a slightly different perspective on the machine to most people, because like most people were there in the kind of golden age, the Amiga 500 being an absolute commercial monster. I was there at the tail end in the dying days, and have got this affection for more of the like obscure stuff, or the games that were like pushing at the cutting edge and required extra bits like a CD drive or an expansion card. And it's given me this like obscure taste in Amiga games, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, I completely agree. That's the thing with me. When I first started playing the Amiga, like mine was like 94, so again quite late to the party for it. I had played it previously at friends' houses and stuff, but I didn't get my own until then. But yeah, it just made me realise that games were so much more than what I had been playing on the Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive, and it just made me love games even more than I did, because I was drifting away from games because I was just things were a bit samey. And then playing, like I said, the first time I played Fate of Atlantis, that was it for me. I was like, gaming is all I want now. I don't want to do anything else with my life now. I just want to do this. This is more fun than movies and TV shows. This is brilliant. But I would never have thought I would never have found that love had I not have played the Amiga. Until much later, like with PlayStation would have been much later on with that same sort of gameplay. But yeah, the Amiga for me is just so important to who I am, which is weird to say about a piece of plastic.
Yeah, and something that when we look back over our lives wasn't an enormous length of time. Like
No,
the Nintendo Switch has been in my life for and a part of my daily life for like 4 times longer than
I
the
know.
Amiga was back in the day.
Yeah,
But it's the Amiga that's really special to me.
yeah, same. It's insane, and just how many great games and different ways of playing these games, like being able to like use my the mouse as well, like you were saying, like using a mouse to play something like Lemmings.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, this makes so much more sense than using a controller to do this sort of stuff, because I had already played Lemmings on, I think it was the Mega Drive version.
Yeah, and
And
it's night and day when you play it the
yeah,
way it's meant to be played. Did you ever play Shuffle Puck Cafe?
yes, I did. Yeah,
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 which is such a simple game. It's basically Pong.
yeah,
Um, and you're playing one of those. I never even knew they were called Shuffle Puck, and maybe like air hockey. Playing like an air hockey game,
yeah,
essentially against aliens. It's got like a bit of a Star Wars cantina vibe going on with it. So it's like tons of atmosphere to this quite simple game, but because it uses the mouse, you've got this like direct control over the shuffle puck.
yeah.
Like it's
Like
basically
early
motion
motion control.
controlled. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, in like 1989 or whenever that game came out. Um, it, amazing what difference like a simple thing like a mouse can
yeah,
make, and especially with point and click adventures, because you're essentially um, you're like directly interacting. You're not controlling a character's movement.
you're directing them, aren't you?
Yeah,
Like through.
you're directing them, and then like just reaching out and touching anything on the screen that
Yeah,
you want to interact with. So um it feels like you've got more of a connection with the game because of that.
yeah. Oh man, and it does, like with like the Monkey Island games and Indiana Jones and Beneath the Steel Sky. It all feels like you're playing a movie,
Mm.
and you're involved in this movie, and you're the one making the choices in the movie, and you're the one interacting and choosing what's going on next in terms of like conversation, especially Monkey
Yeah,
Island with.
I think that's true. I remember when I moved on from the Amiga, a game that I fell in love with on the PlayStation was Resident Evil,
Yeah,
which is was kind of praised for being a highly like cinematic game at the time. But Resident Evil weirdly reminded me a lot of Monkey Island.
I
It,
thought that as well.
did you?
With yeah, I
Yeah,
remember saying it to one of my friends back in the day, and just saying, "Oh, you," because he used to really love Monkey Island and Indiana Jones, and I said, "Well, this is kind of like that, but there's a bit more action to it."
yeah, yeah, exactly that.
Um,
I mean, obviously it had the puzzles, which so there's a real comparison there, but it
yeah, it had
also
the
felt like you
obscure
were
puzzles.
moving from one scene to another.
Yeah, yeah, and that was the thing. There were those same obscure puzzles that you had. It was like you got to fit this into this, and that's then you had the inventory as well, which was very much like the Monkey Island style game, where you could go in and look at your inventory and go, all right, I need to use this, I need to use that. It was. I said exactly the same. I said it's like a point and click adventure, but action.
Yeah, and now they're not
Yeah.
anymore. Now they're just
No,
action.
they're just action and not as clever as they were, which is a shame. I think that's probably all we've got time for this one, as we have been running quite a long time on that. But thank you so much, Ash. I think that was your final thoughts anyway, wasn't it, on the Amiga?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been one long rambling 2-hour thought, I think, from me. But really, like, it's flown by for me. I really love talking about the Amiga and Amiga games. So it's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. And I learnt some stuff about the Amiga games as well tonight that I didn't know about, especially some of the Vulkan software stuff. I'm going to be checking out those without any hesitation on AmniNet, is it?
I don't know if you would find them on AmiNet, because they're not free. They're not free games.
Oh, they're not
So
free games
yeah,
anymore. Yeah,
they're commercial
yeah.
games.
They're commercial games.
But I'm sure you can find them if you know where.
I'd
know
like
where
to
to
give
look.
them money, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't know if they. At one point, they had they'd done like a PC remake of some of their games. I think Valhalla and Timekeepers got PC remakes.
Okay, cool.
Whether you can still get them or not, I don't know.
Well, I've
But
wishlisted
worth a look.
Degeneration on the Switch, so I'm going to definitely check that one out as well.
Yes, that's highly recommended.
And for those who, because it's not Degeneration as in like Degeneration X, it's
No.
D slash generation for those
Yeah.
who are going to go searching for it after listening to this. There is no such game as Degeneration. There is, it just is not spelled the way you would think. But yeah, thank you very much, Ash, for that. That was absolutely brilliant. And hopefully we can get you on again for more topics as well.
Yeah, well, I think you guys have got very similar taste to me. I was listening to your Sega Saturn episode the other day and nodding along in agreement. Good taste.
Yeah, that was a good one. That was with Tom. Yeah, I really enjoy. I love the Saturn. I can probably talk about that longer than nearly anything bar Amiga, I think.
Yes, one of my favourite systems, that one. But let's not do
Let's
another
not
2
turn
hours.
this into Saturn 2. We'll have to do another one on that. But yeah, thank you very much, Ash.
All right, my pleasure.